Excellent. Good morning, and thank you, Kim, for that great introduction. Also for that a good thing that's happened or a positive thing that's happened. Um, if and I know we don't record that part of the meeting, but if you didn't think state employees were some of the kindest, gentlest, and most philanthropic group of people, then you need to come to one of these meetings and hear the first 5 minutes of everything that was going on for that. So really appreciate that. It's always nice to get kicked off on a positive note. And thank you to all of you guys out there for everything that you do to serve your constituents and your citizens and your end users, and then all the stuff you do even beyond that, because I know how generous each and every one of you are. And it's a great time to talk about that as we get ready to go into the Thanksgiving season and the Christmas season, holiday season as well. So this is the October 24th Buyer User Group meeting. We've got some great updates for you today. Excited to be with you. And again, thank you guys for attending. Let's dig right into our agenda. First one at the top of the agenda, our next bug meeting will be at the forum. At the forum will be our next bug meeting. We'll be doing 2 of those sessions. If I'm remembering the schedule correctly, I think they're both being held on Wednesday, which is the last day, kind of the half day of the forum. But it's
That's
always
correct.
a good, thanks, Kim. It's always a good wrap up for us there. We'll have a lot of great content for you guys at the forum. We're going to, if it's been a while since you've been even to the virtual forum, certainly it's been a while for everybody since we've been in person, and I'm so looking forward to seeing, I hope, most of you there in person. I know the sign up is 600 some people, which is fantastic. We'll be going over an EVA update. We'll be looking at our sourcing and contracting module. We'll have 2 separate sessions covering things around what we call the P2P module, which is, requisitions and purchase orders and receipts. We're also going to have some fun and have a game show type thing going on there, which we haven't done in a while. It'll be fun to have everybody in the room and goofing off. And we're actually going to dry run that today to make sure we're good and solid with our game show. So our team here is going to do a big dry run on that today, and we're excited to even do the dry run. And then we're also going to talk about some new things, procure to pay transparency, P2P, another version of P2P, but really focused on procure to pay, and then electronic invoicing as well. We're going to talk about that at the forum. If for whatever reason you're not able to be there in person, a lot of those sessions are going to be recorded and available for you. So there is a virtual option. Now, again, I hope to see everybody in person. But even if you're in person and you happen to miss a session because you're doing something else, or in another session and you miss an EVA session, these sessions will be recorded and available for you. So that's a nice feature. Also, you know how the forum can be. You might have been in person and you've come to a session and there's a great note or something that you want to refer back to. You'll have that option to get the recordings of the sessions as well. So great stuff all the way around with the forum. So just a little plug there on our first bullet point with the forum. The rest of today's session kind of fallen into a little bit of a pattern here lately with the bug meeting, which is fine. We're going to look at some high priority issues and get you an update on those and how things are going. Some things have been completed, some things are on schedule. I've got one thing that's going to take a little longer than we thought. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Also, just kind of our EVA production release review. We'll talk about some highlights from September. We'll talk about kind of a preview into October. And then the demonstration is going to be some items that are coming in October, plus another little thing I want to show you. So we'll be doing some demonstrations at the end of this meeting as well. So excited to dig into all of that. Staying with the theme here, if you've been with us for the last couple of user group meetings, I kind of almost a placeholder slide here from a release management perspective. Our release notes going all the way back to our go live a year ago are located at that web address there. They're also I'm pretty sure in the resources area. So you go to the EVA homepage and go to resources, and you can catch the release notes there. It just simply says EVA release notes. And then something we've been promoting over the last several user groups. Really love what's happening in this section, and it's being updated very, very consistently on an almost weekly basis, an area where we're putting EVA tips, and there's both buyer and supplier tips, depending on where you're looking. And those are just some quick hit things about EVA. But again, if you go back and you've been to the bug meetings the last couple of months, this slide has been in there, and I like putting it in because when the recording comes out and you see the recording of the user group meeting, you have this as a reference. If you forgot where that stuff's located, or you want to drive right to it. So again, kind of leaving that slide in as a reference point for everybody. Let's jog over and talk about our high priority issues and get you an update on those. So our high priority issues, just an update. This is really a carryover over the last several months as we've been tracking these things. We had a fix to the P-card approvals, making sure those were firing right. That got completed, and that one's out of the way. We should have all of our gaps closed and be solid and compliant with our P-card approvals. The system and the 90-day user deactivation, that's the system's automatically doing this. Now, again, this is a process that's been in place for, I would argue, decades, and how we handle user deactivation. Now, again, this is on the buyer side. This is on the buying side. Suppliers got a little different setup and a little bit more lenient over there, just because of suppliers sometimes don't log in quite as much. But the point is, on the buyer side, if we have a user who has not logged into EVA in the last 90 days, they do become disabled, and they have to go through a security process to get reactivated. Again, that process has been in place for years and years and years and years and years on if I become deactivated, how I reactivate my account. So if you have any questions about that, procurement director at your organization, or if you have your security delegated to you, or if your security is managed by your DPS account executive, they know the deal on what you have to go through to get reactivated. But again, the system is doing that for us automatically, and that has been completed. This next section here, we are adding some additional, and I'll even call it kind of custom approval logic into the workflow. As we've started thinking about this and making the system more flexible, making our approvals make more sense, giving you more options, we ended up coming to a solution that was a little bit more complex than what we initially thought it would be. So that did kick out the work on this one into our February 2024 release, but it is in process. We know what we need to do. It's just a little bit complex, more complex than what we initially thought it would be. So that is a change in date. We had that slated for late November, early December, and that is a change for us. And that is something you'll absolutely get a hard look at least from me, in a meeting like the user group, where I'll kind of describe what we've done and how it could be an impact. Some of you may have no interest in that functionality. You're like, my workflow is fine. I've got the right checks and balances in place. Some of you could really leverage this additional approval logic that we're about to put in. Really our goal here, we don't want any approvals to be occurring outside of the EVA system, right? Once you've got that rec going in EVA, we don't want anything to happen outside of EVA itself. So this is one of the ways we're looking to solve that. So something to think about as we go into early 2024 and how we can help you out there. For those of you that do integration, you're doing real-time integration, there is a bug here when your finance system, when your ERP needs to deny a purchase order for whatever reason before it goes out to the supplier. The allocations could be coded wrong. That typically what happens is you're getting a chart of accounts set up coming up from EVA that's not what you want, and it needs to be denied, have the chart of accounts fixed, and then, reintegrate the transaction. That's been kind of ugly. When a denial comes back, you really have to, the workaround right now is you're creating a separate requisition and purchase order to handle that denial. It's messy, but that fix, the PO integration denial fix, where you'll be able to, set that requisition basically back to composing and make the fixes within the same, transaction line. That is on its way. Some of you, I know there's some outreach potentially starting up about that in the not too distant future. So again, that is still slated late November, early December. So that is still on time and hasn't moved. And then for those of you that use the queue management function, and if I'm saying that and you have no idea what I'm talking about, then you're likely not using the queue management function. But for those of you that do, there are some additional oversight dashboards coming. We're still on schedule for that. I've actually got, for those of you that are queue management users, there's a separate demonstration coming on that as well. So excited to see those things, and all those items have stayed on schedule. Next, some high priority issues and what's coming up next, what we're working on, all that stuff. So, what's going to potentially be next up. Now, again, outside of the one that says complete and the one that says ongoing, and I'll talk about those in a minute, some of these items, particularly at the bottom, we think these will be the next ones up. We'll have sort of floated these with our partner in CGI. They're lightly aware of our prioritization and what's coming up. And certainly we'll have some further discussions with CGI, talk about what we need to do to get these things done and get them on the roadmap. But these top two bullets were high priority issues, and I just wanted to make you aware of what was going on. Contract enhancements, and this is the contract module within EVA, and we're doing all sorts of stuff. We got a lot of things that we're planning, some additional analytics, some additional functions and features, some things that are coming in very, very, very soon. And I'm going to show you those today. Variable price line items. And now this doesn't really impact your end users, but the ability to put a percentage off list. So if you have line items and you've negotiated a contract that's percentage off something, so there's a list price and percentage off, the ability to record that data into the contract itself, and then a couple other things. But contract enhancements, we're going to look at those today. That's going to be some of the stuff I'm going to demo here in just a few minutes. So those things are ongoing. And when we're at the forum, when we come back, I can't remember if we decided to have a December user group or not, but certainly if we have a January user group, which I know we'll do,
we're going to, I'll jump in real quick.
Thank you,
We are
Kim.
going to send out an EVA Extra so that we can recap highlights and point you to resources specific to EVA that were focused on during the forum, so that will just help reinforce any other communications you get. And then in January, yes, we are planning that user group to do a nice little recap and look ahead.
Great. Thank you for that reminder. Appreciate that. So next user group, I'll repeat, it's worth repeating, is in November at the forum in person. It will be recorded for posterity purposes, so you can get your eyes on that if you're not able to attend in person. December, as Kim mentioned, we'll get a communication out to all the user group members, an EVA Extra. Certainly have some wrap up and follow up from the forum, likely some updates on anything that went in at the end of November, beginning of December. So a little summary of that. So you have that information, maybe pointing you back to the release notes. And then as Kim mentioned, and again, thank you for the reminder, Kim, January then. So November in person, December will just be a email communication with some great wrap up from the forum and some other things. And then we will gather again in January here in our virtual environment. So my point with all that is you're going to see over the next several months, contract. We're going to be doing fixes. We're going to be enhancing functionality. We're going to be tweaking. We've got a lot of things going on, and it's not all, we'll turn this feature or function on. Some of it is analytics and reporting and some dashboards and things like that that are speeding up as the focus, a lot of focus on the contract module. And again, we will have a sourcing session at the forum, a contracting session at the forum, a P2P requisition ordering receipt session, and contract's going to be permeating all through that, and how we use our contracts, shop off contracts, is really going to be a focal point here over the next couple months. That second bullet, change orders after contract expiration. It's really a contract thing. You place some contract orders, maybe right at the end of a contract term, that contract expires. Oh my gosh, we couldn't do, you still might have a change order. Maybe you didn't receive anything. Maybe you still had some services wrapping up. Maybe you added some additional units based on the work that was done. Well, this allows you to do a change order after the contract expires to get those POs straight with your contract supplier. Of course, after a contract expires, there are no new requisitions and purchase orders able to be created, but certainly the ability to do that change order after contract expiration. And that actually came in, I believe it was back in September when that came in. So just wanted to mark that one and show that one is complete. And then these last three, some things we are looking to get done. For those of you that use the Logi Ad Hoc module, it is running, it is available, but it's definitely missing some of the new data elements from the new EVA platform. We're going to get that looked at with CGI, get that scheduled. I'm relatively positive we're going to move forward for that. So hopefully over the next couple times that we meet, you'll start to see some dates around these items. One that we are researching and going back and forth a little bit, the ability to do, we call it return cart, but it's this concept of being able to start a punch out requisition where you punch out to the supplier site, add some items, bring it back to EVA. Oops, I'm missing an item or I need to change something, being able to go back into the supplier shopping cart and add additional items, do that type of editing while everything stays connected. We know right now we can change quantity. We could delete a line item right now. So you can remove a line item, you can change quantity. But if you actually want to stay in the same requisition and add additional items, that's not possible. You really either have to start over or you're creating a separate requisition, and boy, that's painful. So this is something that we're pushing, we're researching. I don't know the reality of this one, but we'll get you some updates on that as we move forward. And then another one that we're researching and looking at is the concept of allocation filtering. Allocation filtering has become kind of a priority issue for us. Again, I can't make any promises on these, but certainly it's something that we're looking at. Right now you can do allocation templates. And things like that. But this is truly the concept of, I select a fund, and based on the fund I select, I only see these are a certain filtered set of cost centers or object codes or whatever your chart of accounts is. But again, we're digging into that. It's something we want to look at and get some research on. So again, I don't have dates on these, but I just wanted to give you an idea of some of the things that we're kicking around, looking into. We're going to have some additional discussions over the next several weeks on what some of these next high priority issues are. So stay tuned. Keep coming to the bug meetings. Keep letting us know what's important to you. And that allows us to prioritize and get these next round of fixes and enhancements up. So we can improve your experience in EVA. One of the things you'll hear us say it occasionally, maybe we ought to say it more, we are committed to continuous improvement. We are absolutely positively, this is a team that's committed to continuous improvement. And I hope for those of you that have been with us for a while. We know everything's not perfect. Certainly when you're talking about software or anything, things could be better. But I hope you've seen over the years that we don't sit on our laurels, and we're always striving to make improvements and introduce new things and fix things within the EVA system. So that's certainly a mantra of ours. Moving right along, getting out of kind of the high priority items and some discussion around that, I want to talk about our release highlights from back in September. Some things we added that went in, impact to security and login. We added the ability to toggle the password visibility on the EVA login page. Potentially not a huge impact to you guys, depending on, I know a lot of you, which is lucky if you have it, use federated identity management or single sign-on, where you're using your in-office network credentials to get into EVA, which if you do have that, how great that is. But certainly this is a big impact for our supplier community, who does not have federated identity management, and our supplier's ability to, for the one-time login, when they're logging in, to be able to toggle the visibility of their password to make sure they're keying it in right. That's in from our September release. Browse supplier. On the search results page, we added the name, or the W-9 name. So, or the tax name, however you want to call it. The column that you'll see in Browse Supplier says name as shown on W-9. So that is really that name that is put on the W-9 by the supplier. So you can see that on the Browse Supplier results that come back. All basic requisitioners, down to that level, if you are a requisitioner or you have staff, or employees in your organization that are requisitioners, they have the Browse Supplier link. There's a little drop down. So this just kind of helps all sorts of different names in our supplier community. So it kind of helps us there with determining who the correct supplier is. Last one here for the September release. Requisition mass edit and an improvement there. When mass editing rec lines and you're changing the supplier, we had an issue where the supplier contact wasn't updating. That caused some strange error messages. We actually even had a situation where, order notices were getting screwed up. That's been fixed. So when you're mass editing requisition line items and you change the supplier, that supplier contact also gets updated as well. So we don't have any confusion on our requisitions and purchase orders, who the supplier is and where that order is going to. So a little fix there that we got in September. Looking ahead to our October release, and that's going to happen here Thursday evening. So these are things that'll be available Friday morning. Contract. And these are things I'm going to demo here in just a second. Percentage off list line items. Now, this really doesn't impact your end users. The price that an end user will see on a percentage off list item is the price that goes on the PO, the price the Commonwealth is paying. But what it does do from a contracts analytics perspective, if you have a contract and as part of that negotiation, and as you were establishing what the contract prices were going to be, if you have a percentage off list line item or line items, you can put that percentage off into the line item itself. And that really helps, when you have oversight, when you're looking into the contract details and the contract line items themselves, that ability to record that data from an analytics perspective, and also making sure that we're getting the right price. Is that, the negotiated price that we're paying, is that truly reflective of the savings that should happen from a published list price? So we'll take a quick look at that. This is a big one. Enabling variable price line items. And there's going to be some change management here. But variable price line items are contract line items where we do not have a set price. Maybe it's a range. So I always think of services in this case, like if, from a temp labor perspective, well, the negotiated contract price for my data entry analyst is $25 to $30 an hour. So we go out, we get resumes, we determine who that person is, and we decide we're going to pay $28 an hour for that data analyst. That allows us to add that contract line item to a requisition and then key in the negotiated price, based on the ranges that have been established. So the other one that this is big for those of you that buy fuel, fuel is a volatile commodity. Where the price is changing literally every day. You have, the ability to go out, establish what the price is for the type of fuel that you're buying. You can then go to that contract, directly add the exact fuel type that you need, but then be able to key in that price, whatever that price was for that day. And we'll show you this in just a minute. And then also on contract, a new field was added to identify funding source. So excited to get that in as well. And that takes us over kind of a repeat here. What am I going to demo? New contract line items, the variable price and the percentage off list. I'll show you that funding source on the contracts. And then we had a question and I wanted to show everybody, well, if I have to do a confirming order, something that's already been bought and I'm just going into EVA to record it for posterity purposes, how do I do a contract purchase? Do I have the ability to do that? Because a lot of times when you do a contract purchase, you start by finding the contract or finding the line item first. And that's the way I've been showing you guys the last couple of bug meetings, where you can go and find the contract and go to the line items and then be like, buy off this contract. You can start a rec, or you go to the shop products and you find the item, you hit add to cart, and then that creates a requisition. Well, there's a way, even with a confirming order, that you can do that. I want to show everybody that as well. So I'm going to stop sharing for the moment. I'm going to end my slideshow and I'm going to begin sharing UAT. I'll let that load up. Looks like it loaded up good. And I will begin. We'll do our demo here. Let me get my notes up, make sure I cover everything. There we go. All right. So I'm going to slip my glasses on as I maneuver around here this morning. So let's do some of these new contract line items. So I'm going to show you first from a shopping perspective. So I'm just going to go in and do search products. So I'm just shopping here. And I should be able to find these. WID, my famous, and I'm in UAT, guys, my famous statewide widgets contract that I have out here. Let me hit search. Oh, I'd already done it. It had already come back. And let's see here. Oh, there's a bunch of widgets now. Ah, there it is. Okay. So all sorts of widgets out here in UAT all of a sudden. I see that's a popular thing, but they're down at the very bottom here. You'll see my percentage off list widget, and that really looks like there's no real difference here. There's a price. That's the negotiated price. This is actually, the discounted price is what your end users are seeing. Okay, just to be clear. And it really looks no different than, my blue, my white, my blue, red, and white widgets here. You get a price, you get some details, you get a link to the contract. You'll notice the same thing. So we'll go in behind the scenes so you can see what that percentage off list thing. Again, for your end user, a percentage off list item is really no different than just a regular item that has a good line item description, some details, links to a contract. There's really no difference. But look at this variable price one. Oh man, it's blank. That's crazy, right? There's no price. It's because it's variable price. So when I hit add to cart, so I'm going to add that item to my cart. Again, the requisition gets generated, and again, I don't have a price. So if I'm done shopping, let's say we're just going to add this one line item today, I'll go ahead and check out. And that brings me in to my requisition. So in order to get this fixed up, it's not going to let me, I'm pretty sure there's even an error. yeah, there's some errors up there. I'm missing my allocations, but there's also an error because there's no price. I can go in, I can edit, and I'll scroll over here to my price, and the end users then is keying the price. And just for argument's sake today, that's $500. Right? So I get my price keyed in, and then I can go in here and I'll set my allocations real quick as well. 3. I don't know if I have any other required ones here. It looks like I'm all good, and I can hit save and close. Whoop, still got a blocking alert there. What am I missing? Hang on. Oh, and I got to get my PO categories. Since it created my requisition for me, I got to get my PO categories, and let me go ahead and get these allocations fixed up. Whoops. All right, there we go. Now we're all clear. What's my warning? That's for my supplier. Don't worry about that. Just a warning message that I don't have a contact on the supplier, which is fine. Which actually, let me show you this. I can fix this for this particular supplier if I come down here and I'll just select a contact, and that'll get rid of that warning message too. So that is a variable price line item. I set the price, right? And I can go back in, and even after I set the price, you'll notice it's an editable field. All right, so that's a variable price line item. All right, simple, easy. We're going to have to do a lot of change management around that, right? Because we're going to have to tell people about that. So when we set up some of these variable price, this is still in UAT. It's coming to production. Watch for those communications. Particularly if there's a specific contract that is set up as variable price, we're going to have to be very clear and concise about how to order. But the idea here is you'll be able, or your contract officers, your contract managers will be able to set up very, very detailed line items for all the variable price items so that you're getting the item description, part numbers, packaging, whatever it is that makes that item unique. But because it's a volatile commodity, there's a range, whatever that may be, you'll be allowing your end user, to set that final price. So it's kind of like a non-catalog contract item, right? Because right now we're relying on people to key in everything, right? We're doing a non-catalog order. Well, this is like controlling everything but the price. And then, at the end, we're allowing that non-catalog piece where your end user is finalizing the price. So while we're in here, I also wanted to look at, notice, and let me go back to it here, the search products area. So you can see it. I've got this percentage off list widget. There's really nothing special about it that you can see from this side. I mean, you get some descriptions. I mean, your end user, the price is the price, right? It's $19. They're not seeing anything. But for those of you that are contract managers, contract officers, let me show you what this looks like. And I need to bring up I should be able to limit it to my scope here. And then there's my statewide widgets contract. All right. And then I can go over here to my price list, and I've got all my different items here. I got my blue red widgets, my red widgets, my white widgets. There's my variable price guy. And actually, let me show you this from a setup perspective, what this looks like. Here. Oh, whoops. Sorry. Got in the wrong spot. I needed to dig into the actual line itself. And you'll see there's a little checkbox there that just says, is variable price, and a little tooltip. Check this if the price fluctuate and it is not known until the time of order. So this is one of those things. You've got a fluctuating price, or the price itself is not known until you've done some sort of negotiation, or there's a price range. Until the time of order, we have a variable price. We're not sure what that is. So you check that checkbox, and what that does is that makes that price enterable for the end user. All right, so that's what that looks like from a setup perspective on that side. And I'll close this. And then my percentage off list, again, it's just informational, but it really does help from an analytics perspective. It helps you document on a line item by line item basis what that percentage off is. I'll click into here for you. And you'll get to see where we're recording that. I'll scroll down, click on my actual item here, and then you'll see there's a calculation happening. Now, I will tell you guys, the calculation is backwards right now. Don't panic about that. This is the price that's entered. That's what your end user will pay. Percentage off, that's, in this case, this is 5%. That calculation, we're fixing that today. That should be higher because it's saying if the Commonwealth is paying $19.99 and it's 5% off, then the calculated list price is $19.99 plus the additional 5%. So don't worry about that. I almost didn't show this today. I didn't want to cause confusion, but hey, we're here. But the concept here is, again, your end user is not going to be impacted by this. I will repeat myself. Your end user is not going to be impacted by this. You, the contract officer, contract manager, you are entering the price that was negotiated. You're entering the discounted price. That is what we're going to pay. This is for kind of analytical and documentation purposes that we can document on a line by line basis what the percentage off list price is, if that is the way that the contract was competed and set up. So again, your end user, that's what they see. They see that, hey, I'm going to pay $19.99. You saw that when we shopped as well. While we're here, another thing that we added to the contract is the ability to identify the funding sources on a contract. So I've set this particular widgets contract as non-general funded. Here are your choices: non-general fund, general fund grants, or other. All right. So it's just a kind of a quick hit thing so that you can identify the funding source on your contracts. Now, Tracy Robinson, who is our sourcing lead, put a great point up to me. Now, I've already set this contract up, but if you're going in to amend a contract or renew a contract that's already in EVA, you're going to see an error message before that renewal that it's going to want you to identify the funding source. So all you have to do, if you run into that situation, you need to do a renewal or amendment, pop over here, pick the funding source, hit save, and then move forward with your renewal or with whatever amendment you need to do. And you can set your funding source without doing an amendment. You don't need to do an amendment to go in and set the funding source, okay? You can come to the header of an existing contract, and here, I'll show you right here. So I'm running, it's not general, it's not non-general fund, it's general fund. So let me knock that out and hit save. So you can see I was able to switch from non-general fund to general fund without doing an amendment, okay? But again, if you're doing a renewal, if you're doing an amendment, you need to come in, you're gonna get an error. It's gonna want a funding source. So set that funding source up, hit save, and then move forward with whatever action you need to take. That includes adding line items, all right? If you're gonna go in and come over here to your price list and put some additional items in. So just handy data. We'll be able to report on this. We'll be able to do all sorts of stuff around the funding source. So again, it's trying to get as much information as we can, to define, what our contracts are and have as much of those defining characteristics on a contract as we possibly can. So more to come in that area, more to come. So the last thing I wanted to show you today is a contract purchase via confirming order. So if I was going to do a confirming order, so this is something that has already been purchased. It was picked up at the site of sale. The procurement has been done, and you need to document that procurement in EVA via a confirming order. Is you would go up here to your procurement dropdown, and you have an option to create a confirming order. So if we need to do this, you simply hit create confirming order. This looks familiar to everybody. I'll fill in some fields here, bear with me. Some of our required fields, we'll just call this routine and equipment, non-technology. I'll hit save. that pulls in. It's telling me, please add one line item. You don't have a line item. That pulls in my shipping and billing. So if I need to add a contract item, certainly I could add a line and hand key everything, but if I need to add a contract item to make sure that contract is referenced and that I'm shopping off of the contract, come right here, hit back to catalog, right? Hit back to catalog. And that'll take me in here and look, my search that I was doing, my widget search is saved. All right. So I can say, yep, that's the one I wanted. Or I could do a new search, just hit reset, blank that out, whatever you need to do. And then I can say, you know what? I'm getting this requisition is for 5 blue widgets. Hit add to cart. And notice it puts those items back. I did confirming order demo. That's the rec I started. It puts those items into the confirming requisition I started. You can hit checkout. That takes you back to the rec. Obviously, it wants me to do my allocations. But what I wanted to show you here is I've got that widgets line item, right? I know that it's coming off a catalog. And then I also know if I dig into the line item that it is referencing that statewide widgets contract, which is what we want. We want to get credit for that contract spent. So even for confirming orders, we can select off of contracts. You could also use a punch out if you needed to. You could also use a punch out and go in and do a punch out item. But again, it's a confirming order in this case. And again, to be clear, and you can see here my type, confirming order. We should only be using confirming orders for a procurement that has been conducted. You're recording the procurement, you're recording the purchase order after the fact. And I know a lot of you have requirements to do that. And the APS-PM manual, for those of you that are under our purview, have requirements to do that and to record those confirming orders. So that is my section of the user group today from a demo perspective. Just to wrap up real quick before we move on, we went over our high priority issues today. We looked at our release highlights from September and October. We also talked about some high priority issues that are either in progress or could potentially be coming up in the future. And then from a demo perspective today, variable price line items, percentage off, funding source on contracts, and then contract purchase via confirming order. Now, the first part, the variable price, percentage off list, and the funding source on contracts, those are in UAT right now. They are not in production yet. They will be in production on Friday. But guys, let's just not run out and start using everything yet. There'll be some guidance coming, some training materials, all sorts of things to help you understand what's going on there. Even some changes as variable price contracts begin to come into the system, some guidance around how to purchase. So your end user should have clear guidance on what they need to do if they're purchasing, particularly off one of those variable price contracts. So again, be patient, all things to come. We'll talk about this stuff at the forum as well. So that's my wrap up. I'll go ahead and stop sharing. And I didn't know if there were any particular questions, Kim, that we needed to handle today.
No, we've been diligently, and by we, I mean Tony and Barb, I stepped in a couple of times, but diligently working behind the scenes to answer questions that were asked along the way. And
I can't tell you how valuable that is.
It is very valuable. There
that.
are a few more that are coming over. So let's just take a look real quick. Could they add a warning on cancel a order?
Like, are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah, like I guess a gut check. So we can take that as a suggestion.
Sure. And there's, silly me that I'm about to ask this. There's not a warning now. Let's see if I go to browse orders.
No, she's saying no. And Shane's confirmed. Yeah. So
yeah, you see me like staring funny is because I've just run off to look.
Focusing in. So we're gonna take that note, Belinda. So thank you.
Well, you do get So hang on now. Hang on, people. I do want to show you this. You do get, so I'm on a PO. I hit cancel. This pops up. I mean, it says send cancel PO. So, I mean, you do get, there is a big screen that flies in your face. So just keep that in mind. And if I hit send and close, that's it. I mean, it's going to be gone. So it doesn't straight up say, are you sure? But I mean, there is something there.
Belinda's
There is
saying she
something
didn't
there.
get that. So make sure your pop-up blockers are coming over. And if you're not seeing that, Belinda, it might be a resolution issue.
Well, it could be if there's not a supplier contact too, potentially. I'd have to look into that. But point taken. I don't want to, beat the point. We've also had some comments about, hey, could you turn the cancel button like red or, so it's clear, everything's kind of blue up there. So we've heard some of this feedback. So appreciate the additional feedback.
And then an additional question about Eva customer care. So during our transition to the new platform, we were definitely in a hypercare response, which meant everyone was submitting a request for help online. And as we've transitioned to this steady state where we're getting back to business as usual, we've retained some of that because it's beneficial to help filter what questions go to which team members and for customer care to be the gatekeeper. As mentioned in prior user groups, we as others within the Commonwealth have been affected by just natural attrition and have vacancies that we're actively looking to fill. So we understand that you may be having a couple of days before that team member calls you back to assist you. If you need live assistance, the telephone number is available. The focus for that live assistance and calling them directly has to do with an active procurement primarily for our suppliers. But if you also have an urgent situation, the telephone number is available. And based on the availability of our agents taking those live calls, you again may end up with a callback. All of this is temporary as we continue to staff up so that, and when I mean temporary from the perspective that it shouldn't be a few business days or longer until you get a call back from somebody, and we look to shorten that length of time to our standard response, which is within a business day or so. But it does benefit us from a assistance perspective to be able to have those requests come in so that we can digest and then get them to the best point of contact to then follow up on those. So we appreciate you granting us a little grace as we continue to rebuild our staff, get everybody up to speed. And again, if there's something that's very urgent, please call the live number. So that question came over from Laura. So thank you. And my very long-winded
thank you for your
answer.
patience. I know it's been a long road back there, but I don't think Kim could have said it any better. And we appreciate that. And we are working diligently to try to get back to as normal as we can. So
yeah, and if you go on the Eva website under Get Help, so I will share my screen real quick, and we're butting up against the top of the hour. So if you go on the Eva website under Get Help Eva Customer Care, then you'll have your options for buyer assistance request form. But then we're saying, hey, if you're a supplier trying to respond to an open solicitation, our customer care number hasn't changed. Although I'm sure nobody's committed it to memory other than me, because I do the recordings, but there's their number that you can get to. But again, we want to reserve that for urgent manners and continue to utilize the assistance form when it's something where we can allow a business day or so for us to respond to you. So thanks for those great questions. And it looks like, if you look into adding the title on the PO when printing, there's some printing questions. Yeah, so we've got a few suggestions that have come over. And then again, something that seems very specific about supplier email notification seems to be a problem. So we can take a look into what that issue is, because we do capture these questions. And then for somebody that needs individual assistance, please reach out to customer care or your support within your entity about how do you
Absolutely.
delete a line on the ad page as a favorite. I think you just unclick the star to unfavorite it.
Yep, that is correct.
So just you just unclick that and it should take it off. So hopefully that will answer that. And then again, another question that again is very individual. So thank you guys so much. We will follow up on these individual questions that came over in the chat that are not answered. They're open, and follow up or have maybe your account executive if it's appropriate for them to follow up, or to EVA team member. So we will follow up, try to get you a response. For those of you coming to forum, we look forward to seeing you finally in person.
Yeah, can't wait to see everybody. That's going to be
try
great.
to do our best to mimic the energy and the synergy that you feel when you're in the room with people, but there's no real substitute.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
Looking forward to that. And for those who can attend, look for those playbacks to be available through the LMS, available all the way through, I think, the end of the year after forum, so that you can access and get that great information that we will be sharing. We will see you in person in November. We can't see you in person in November, then we wish you ahead of time a happy holiday season, health, and going into the new year, we will be able to reconvene our user groups. So thank you guys so much for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your year, maybe, if we don't see you again until then.
Yeah,
thanks so much. Bye.
Appreciate y'all.